Traders, Rich here and welcome to a new episode on how to analyze any chart from scratch without using any indicators, just by applying basic price action concepts and market structure 101. So let's get started, and as usual, cheers. Today we have episode number 31, which is a crypto instrument this time, COTI. If you aren't familiar with the series, don't worry, I'll make sure to attach the entire playlist, which includes all the videos by order, in the description below. And I also attach my Telegram channel, where I forward my analysis and videos from YouTube and TradingView in case you want to get notified. So let's do it. For those who already know, like who have watched the previous 30 videos, know that we always start from the higher time frames, daily and weekly, to know where we stand in the market. Are we overall bullish, bearish, or stuck inside the range? And as price approaches the lower band, it can be horizontal, just like this one, or non-horizontal. We'll be looking for buy setups, and as price approaches the upper bound and parallel, we'll be looking for sell setups. So let's do just that. First of all, as mentioned previously, half of the work is done from daily and weekly, and then once we know when we are in the market, we then zoom into lower time frames like H4, H1, and even lower sometimes to look for setups. Around a support, we'll be looking for buy. Around the resistance, we'll be looking for sell. So our rejection types are a horizontal support and resistance, where we have many failed attempts to break above or below a certain level or area. A non-horizontal support and resistance, just like this one, where we have many rejections from it, and this is a non-horizontal resistance. We have many rejections from it. The third one is a supply and demand zone. So when we have an aggressive movement upward, we do have a demand zone, and as price approaches it again, we'll be looking for buy setups. Vice versa, when we have an aggressive movement downward, we have a supply zone, and as price approaches it again, we'll be looking for sell setups. So let's apply these three rejections on this particular one on COTI. Since it's a crypto instrument, as I always say, you can't really find typical supply and resistance because you don't have enough data, right? So that's all you have. That's why we always go for round numbers. And the strongest round numbers, you have to look to the right, to the price, right? So it depends on where this particular instrument is currently trading. And obviously, this one is trading between 0 and like almost 1. The strongest ones are 0 or like 1, of course, 0.1, 0.5 and 1, right? So let's do it real quick. Around the 0, we got the 0. Let me draw it real quick, 0.1. Then we've got the 0.5 as mentioned previously. Let's see if the price is respecting this one or not. Okay, so we can't really find any rejections from it. We did have this one previously, then price broke upward, it became support, and then price broke downward again, it became resistance, right? So we've got many rejections from it. So let's keep it. And we also got the one, but I can't really see it now. So let's go for the all-time high, which is around 0.7, right? Here we go. And we also have the 0.25, which is like half of the distance between the 0 or the 0.1 and the 0.5. So let's draw it real quick. So that's it. So these are the strongest round numbers for COTI, and we can see the price is respecting this 0.25. It was acting as a resistance previously, and price broke it upwards, now acting as support, broke it downward, resistance, broke it upward, support, 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 and now it's acting as a resistance area. So we don't want to buy COTI now unless we have a break above the 0.25. Anyway, we'll zoom into lower time frames in a bit. So that's it for our round numbers or typical supply and resistance. Now let's go for non-horizontal supply and resistance. Sorry about the noise. Okay, so we want to find like the overall movement. We want to find the non-horizontal supply and resistance, which engulfs the overall movement upward or downward. And since we are trading like higher, then we will have to find the rising channel, which engulfs the overall movement. So we can clearly see it, right? We don't need any tricks or like any tools to draw it. So that's it. This is the rising like non-horizontal support below the price. Price is rejecting it multiple times, and it's currently sitting around it. And of course, as usual, when we find it, we always try to make an offset for it, and here we go. So this is our non-horizontal resistance, which I also consider an overbought area. So as price approaches it again, we can expect a rejection from it. And since it's rising, so for the next impulse, we expect it to make a new all-time high, which would be like above 0.7. Anyway, let's focus on the current price action, right? So price is now sitting around the lower band. However, right, and since we drew our round numbers previously, we've got this horizontal round number, which might hold the price down. So in fact, Coty is now stuck inside this small range where we have a resistance and a support. So for the buyers to take over, we need to see a break above the resistance. And for the bears to take over for a trend continuation to the downside, we need a break below this trend line. Then our next support would be this area around 0.1, which is also what now it's time for our third rejection, which is a demand zone, as we had an aggressive movement upward from it, right? So this is a demand zone. Previously, we had this demand zone. On the retest of it, we looked for buy setups. Then we've got this supply zone. The reset of it, we expected a bearish movement. And we also have a supply zone around here. But let's not draw anything. Anyway, these ones are already filled. We only draw the new ones. A demand and the supply is originated from one single untouched point. So always remember that. One single untouched point. So this is a one, right? And one single, and it's still untouched. It's still already, you can use like, you can use like the word like it isn't filled yet. Okay, so price didn't fill it yet. So long story short, Coty is currently sitting inside this small range, and we don't want to buy unless we have a break above it, or if broken downward, then we'll be looking for buy setups around this lower demand area. Now, since we have since we know what we are looking for and when we are in the market from weekly time frame, let's zoom into data. I'll delete this one to make the chart as clean as possible, and instead draw a horizontal level to keep it as clean as possible. So 0.135, I guess. Yes, this is it. So that's our demand area. Now let's zoom into lower time frames and see if we can gather more info. From daily time frame, we can see that we were previously bullish, then price broke below the previous low. So starting from here, we are now overall bearish, right? So this is our last low, broken downward, a classic retest of it, and then we traded lower. We've got our impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse, and so on, right? So we are overall bearish, and for the buyers to take over, they need to break above the previous high. So that's market structure 101. For now, our last high, of course, from daily time frame is around this area, which is around 0.34, 35. Okay, so for the buyers to take over, and as we saw from weekly time frame, we need a break above the 0.25, which would happen, right? If price would break above the 0.35. That's from a long-term perspective, of course. And let's also try and draw our non-horizontal supply and resistance from daily, which is engulfing this bearish trend. Because if we zoom out, this is simply, of course, a deep correction from a higher time frame. So impulse, deep correction, impulse. Now we're currently in this deep correction, and we're waiting for the bulls to take over again to catch the next impulse movement upward. That's the power of starting from a higher time frame to know where you are in the market. So for now, this is our last high, right? And maybe the price would form a new swing high around the upper red trend line. In this case, we'll consider it our updated. Here we go. Let me make it in purple as usual for the projection. In this case, we'll consider it our new or last high, last updated high, because for now this was the last high. Now, if price forms a new high, it would be this one, which would also provide us with an even better entry, right? So this is what I'm currently waiting for on Coty. Of course, if price rates higher from here in an aggressive manner, then it wouldn't provide us with an entry here from daily time frame. In this case, on the retest of it, we can zoom into lower time frames and look for any kind of bullish reversal to answer. But we want the price to invalidate the upper red trend line and invalidate the 0. Or break above the 0.25 before looking for buy setups. It might happen like this. This case will enter, or it might happen like this. In this case, we'll be looking for buy on the retest. Okay, I don't need to zoom into lower time frames for now because I already have all the info that I need, and it's very clean from daily time frame. For now, and until this happens, until the buyers manage to break above the 0.25 in these two possible scenarios, would be overall bearish, and Coty can still trade lower and lower and fill, as mentioned previously, this demand area before trading higher. In this case, as price approaches the demand area, I'll be zooming into lower time frames also and try to catch this impulse movement upward. And like to know where the price might reverse from the lower bound, we can simply, as usual, make an offset for this one and try to connect as many lows as possible. So in this particular case, Coty is forming like a wedge pattern, right? So we can see it now clearly. As price approaches this lower bound, we'll be looking for buy stops. Of course, if price breaks this brown trend line, we'll delete it as it's no longer holding the price up. But for now, it's a potential non-horizontal support, so I'll keep it because this is a possible scenario. So long story short for Coty, I'll be waiting for this to happen and look for buy on the retest, or this to happen then buy on break upward, or of course, as price approaches this lower bound, we'll be looking for buy from lower time frames, and then of course from a higher time frame, I'll be waiting for the exact same upper scenario. In this case, price would form a new swing high. So that's it for Coty. Hope you like it, and I'll see you on the next episode.